I'm Tabby.
And I'm Caitlin, and today we will be covering The Sweetest Oblivion, which is the first book in the Maid series by Danielle Lori. I do want to preface this episode by letting you all know that there might be a little more background noise than normal on my end. I did unfortunately just fall the other day and break my ankle, so I have to record upstairs. So I apologize if you can hear any any dogs or any loud husbands because he's in there playing the new Call of Duty. So
We're trying our best.
good luck to us.
So I'll start by I don't have the physical copy of the book. I just have them on Kindle. So I'm just gonna read the Goodreads synopsis thing that they have on their website. So the back says she's a romantic at heart, living in the most unromantic of worlds. Nicknamed Sweet Oblivion for her docile nature, Elena smiles on cue and has a charming response for everything. She's the favored daughter, the perfect mafia principessa, or was, and now all she can see in the mirror's reflection is the blood staining her hands like crimson paint. They say first impressions are everything. In the murky waters of New York's underworld, Elena's sister is arranged to marry Nicholas Russo, a made man, a boss, a cheat, even measured against mafia standards. His reputation stretches far and wide and is darker than his black suits and ties. After his and Elena's first encounter ends with an accidental glare on her part, she realizes that he's just as rude as he is handsome. She doesn't like the man or anything he stands for, though that doesn't stop her heart from pattering like rain against glass when he's near, nor the shiver of that ghost down her spine at the sound of his voice. And he's always near, telling her what to do, making her feel hotter than any brother-in-law should. Elena may be the sweet Abelli on the outside, but she's beginning to learn that she has a taste for the darkness, for rough hands, cigarettes, and whiskey-colored eyes. Having already escaped one scandal, however, she can hardly afford to be swept up in another. Besides, even if he were hers, everyone knows that you don't fall in love with a made man, right? That is a detailed description.
It really is. They made Elena look like a little hoe, to be honest, in that. It's fine. We
Yeah, and
love
she's
her.
like, really not.
Yeah. They're like, wow, she wants her brother-in-law. What a disgusting, like, I don't
She
know.
slept with one man, and that
Yeah.
did not end well.
She really like, and I mean, not that I have anything against women who sleep with lots of people, but like, she's really not a promiscuous woman.
No,
And
you think like based off of how her parents treat her this whole book that like she like created her own like harem of men.
I know. Yeah, they're like, Elena, you fucking slut. You're ruining the family name. And she's like,
um
literally, I'm just an attractive young lady.
like you made me like this. Literally, they did. So, ratings on this book. I have read this book a few times actually, based off of how much I liked it the first time compared to how much I really didn't like it the fourth time. Um I give it an 8.18 out of 10.
I love the specificity.
And really it's like such a good like mafia romance book, and that's honestly what kind of got me interested in like mafia romance to begin with, which is why I'm giving it a little bit of a higher score. But like after I'm already reading it and like knowing what's going to happen in the second half, I just don't like it as much because the second half of the book is just boring.
Hmm.
Like I didn't really care for it. Like the first part is like so steamy and like you're just like constantly wondering like I don't really know what's gonna happen like between these two type thing. But then like after they get married and stuff, you're just like, oh, like that was kind of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I rated the book a 7.5 out of 10 because again, I love like the first part of the book, like the build up and like the will they, won't they, and it's super fun. But then yeah, once they're living together, things just kind of like fizzle out. And also I really hate the miscommunication trope, which is like a major aspect of the second half of the book. So that's kind of what I think ruins it for me a little bit. But
For
overall, I
sure.
still enjoyed it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of important characters in this book. And usually, like when we do the character portion of this, there's only like, I would say three or four that we cover. There's quite a few that all play a very big role in this book. The main leading lady here is Elena. She is the daughter of one of the Dons in New York. So basically, like she caught herself up in this scandal and it ruined her name. And she is the oldest sister, but she's basically being treated like the second child right now because of her scandal. I honestly found her character to be very annoying. She was trying so hard to appear like very intelligent, and I'm sure she is intelligent, but it's just like she was trying to be like a pick me girl, like, oh, I'm not like the other girls type thing.
Yeah, she came across as like condescending. And
Yeah.
it's funny because and I get it, like to an extent, because I also would not want to be a young woman like trapped in this type of culture.
No.
But she acts like Nico is absolute trash and garbage. But it's like, hey, girl, your family is the same way, which
You
I mean, I
literally
think she
watched them
understands.
murder somebody.
She's like, well, we're a better like mafia family than your mafia family. Like, I don't know. It's just
And I
weird.
feel like part of it is probably like the way that they became like affluential in like the mafia world. Like maybe like her family just like does business different. I mean, obviously they do business way different than Nico's family does. Like they primarily run like casinos and like gambling rings and all that. But I don't
Yeah,
know. It's just strange to think that there's like a better form of organized crime than the
I
other.
know. They're like, your crime is trashy, okay?
But yeah, no, even when like I don't know, I just every time she's like, "Well, I watch the news." It's like, "Good for you, girly. You are so informed." But I mean, I liked her character for the most part, and there were just certain aspects that I didn't like. I hated that she just refused to communicate with everybody about literally anything. And I honestly think that's partly because of like how she was raised. Obviously, her parents like aren't great people, and that's probably not a great environment to be in, but like I
And
don't
like she
know.
had to be secretive growing up. And the one time her secret got found out, like the guy that she slept with got murdered.
Right.
So I get it to an extent.
I get being secretive like at the beginning and like trying to like steal his like shit and whatever. But like after they got married and like she started falling for him and like there was definitely like a big change in like their dynamic. Like I feel like she probably could have just talked to Nico.
And honestly, it would have been better if she had, because there was the whole misunderstanding. Like Nico thought that she was in love with her dead lover,
And
which
she
she
like
wasn't at
didn't
all.
deny it ever.
Yeah. And so he, of course, was jealous, and she just like let all of these like miscommunications like build up to the point that it was just wholly unnecessary. She could have just
But
been like,
also
no, my family's crazy and they murdered this guy because we slept together.
Nico was like super into it though.
Yeah, he's a
He,
freak.
he's like, I'm glad you like that was really hot that you stole from me like that. Like he's gonna fit right in here.
He's like,
Also,
you
I
little
thought
minx.
I thought it was so weird how when Nico was still engaged to her sister, she was like, yeah, this is the hottest man I've ever seen. Like, I'm definitely gonna push boundaries here. But the second he was like, yeah, I'm all yours, she was like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, which is like interesting to me because she obviously does care about her sister. And maybe the only reason she felt fine with it is that she knew her sister didn't have feelings for Nico. But
Yeah.
it's still like you're putting yourself in a situation where you could ruin things for yourself and for your sister. So, like, it is interesting that she was so willing to really kind of toe the line there at the beginning.
Yeah. But then
But
the second it
yeah,
was like actually okay, she was like, I was just kidding.
yeah, I think honestly that is probably just she has some kind of thing that she would need to work out with a therapist because as
She
soon
likes
as
to
it was
live on
like,
edge.
yeah, as soon as the relationship was like accessible and like
Like
safe,
healthy-ish.
yeah, she was like, oh no, absolutely not.
Then we have Nico, who's the main male character in this book. Nico's a dick.
Yeah,
He's just not nice. But he does have like have a very sweet spot for Elena, Elena.
I definitely say Elena.
The
Yep.
audiobook says Elena. The audiobook is trash too, so
All right,
can't.
nobody listen to the
It's
audiobook unless you have
really
to.
no, it's really bad.
Okay, then
Like
just have someone read it out loud.
the Italian accents that they give each of the characters is like cringeworthy.
Oh, I definitely I like Nico, but it's interesting how I will accept these characters and be like, Yeah, I love him. He's so flawed, but I love him. But like in real life, if I met Nico, I would not be okay with him as a person. Like, you know what
I'd
I
like
mean?
to say I wouldn't be, but also like I don't always have, barring my husband, I don't always have the greatest taste in men. So
Yeah.
like
I
sure.
probably I probably could fall for it, but I like to think that I wouldn't.
I mean, I really liked his character. I really don't think he was the problem at all. I mean,
In their
he
particular like miscommunication, no, he was
yeah, he
not.
didn't do anything wrong. He did have like obviously he was willing to cheat on his future spouse and he did try to like fight against it, I guess, to begin with. He was like keeping his distance and like whatever. She was like actively seeking him out too.
Yeah, they definitely were both in the wrong at the beginning.
I mean, overall, I don't think he was a bad person. He is like obviously overprotective and like kind of a bastard, but his family sounds like they were terrible as well. So I feel like it's all in like just consideration for where they are and like the environment that they're in. Like it could be
That's
worse.
fair. Yeah, like for literally being born and raised into the mafia, like he's fine.
And like you get more insight to Nico's dad in the second book too. His dad really was just like a freaking piece of work. So
Yes.
it totally makes sense why he's the way that he is.
Yeah, so like all things considered, Nico's pretty great because like a lot of the men in this particular series, like they are abusive and dismissive of the
He's
women in their family.
got some serious mommy issues. Like that whole scene where they're like in the office, like at his gambling hall or whatever. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's my mom's piece of art. Like she didn't actually like the artist. She was too high to like know who it was. I was like, oh,
Yeah, that was rough.
that's
Because
sad.
Elena at first was like, "Aw," and then she was like, "Oh,
Like, oh, he's damaged.
yeah, got my work cut out for me."
Like, whew, okay.
So next we have Christian, who is the absolute hottie, mysterious cop man.
I was
That,
immediately into him.
yes, same.
Immediately, I was like, yes.
And so was Elena. She was like, "Okay, like I can stop trying to steal my sister's man because this man is
She's like,
fine."
I can take your man if I want to, but I don't got to because I have this one.
And Nico immediately was like shutting it down. He was like, hell no. I
Because
thought
we
it was
find out that he
amazing.
is also not a good man.
No, no, he's not. He's just like the rest of the men in these books, but he's attractive, so we let it slide. And of course has a soft spot for certain people in his life.
Which we will read more about in the second book.
Yes, you guys aren't even ready. He's
The
amazing.
second book, like this book walked so the second book could run. And the
Yeah.
second book ran so the third book could like take flight.
Yeah, the third book, like I love how it has absolutely nothing to do with anything else that happens in the other books, but like at the same time,
There's
they
like
were
one
like, they're
singular
connected.
line like tying it together.
Yeah, they're like, they're connected. Don't worry, it's the same series.
Like it, I mean, you're not wrong, I guess, but
It's
also it's
wild
like you are
though.
so incorrect.
I think that the third book is my favorite of all three, but the second book is up there. It's real close for me.
I liked the third book because that really opened the doors to me reading more like traumatizing type reads. Like I was like, oh, okay, like if I can read
And
that, I can read probably a lot.
really, I just love that for me and my growth and my journey.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that wasn't that bad.
I'm
But
not sorry.
Christian, so basically his ulterior motive was just getting under Nico's skin. And like again, we can't say too much about him because I don't want to spoil anything for the second book. But
Exactly.
he's a babe and a half, and I love him. I love
Same.
him. Adriana, she is Elena's little sister. Again, like she sucked. Like a lot of these characters just kind of suck. She is very selfish, I feel
Mhm.
like. And she doesn't really take her sister's feelings into consideration. Like Elena obviously would bend over backwards to make sure Adriana was happy and like I think she's choosing to be weird and quirky because she doesn't want to be like associated with her family, which I totally get. Like, that's
Yeah,
fine. But whenever you're hurting people because of that, that's
right.
not fine.
I think you make a good point though. Like she is selfish and not considering other people, but like she's immature, she's
She's
young.
a child.
Yeah, so it's like I get that to an extent because I think of how I was at that age and I probably was not the most like thoughtful and considerate
Like, she was still a
version of
teenager, I'm pretty
myself.
sure,
Yeah, I think she's 19.
which is like a little gross because Nico is like 29, which I don't
Right.
know, 10 years isn't that crazy, but
But at that age is where things get a little bit
it's a little
like,
questionable.
yeah, and especially in the context of like they're in the mafia, like this is an arranged marriage, like then
Like,
it's
she's being
really,
forced to be with this older man.
yeah, then it's really questionable. But
And
of
I
course,
think it's
like,
just weirder to me because you see how like childish and naive she is. Like,
yeah, and Nico
she,
is not into it at all. He's
no.
like, I
He's like,
don't,
you're a fucking weirdo. I'm gonna put you up in this little apartment and I'll see you never.
yeah. And he's very like uncomfortable with the fact that he has to marry her. He's like not at all attracted to her. And again, probably because she's a child and acts like one. And he's like, I don't want this. I
When
want that one.
whenever she was like, they were talking about like her having to like sleep with him for the first time,
Yeah.
he's basically like, well, you have to. And she's like, what are you gonna do? Rape me? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And
But
he's
then
like, I
I'm
never
like,
would, but
I don't know. Part of me is like, he's just bluffing. But I
he
guess,
was. He even said that like in his head. He's like, I would never rape this girl. But I was like,
yeah.
yeah, Adriana, like, why would you set him up for that?
I mean, it's so horrible that he said it. But
I was like, what did you think he was gonna say?
girl, you know the culture of what you're living in.
Like, you know it's expected of you.
You know that you're literally considered property. And I'm not saying that that's okay, but like read your
But
audience.
putting, yeah, like thinking in the point of view of like a mafia member,
Yeah,
like you know.
you're expected to bear children at some point.
I also like obviously like her love affair with the gardener. I think is just young love and like I don't think she actually loves him. But then when she
No.
gets pregnant, she's like, oh fuck. Like I was just kind of like messing around to find some like independence and now I'm like stuck with him.
And I think that she definitely like is infatuated with him and cares about him, but yeah, it's very much like think back to some of your like childhood like loves and early adulthood, like first year of college, like your brain is not fully formed.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think that her decisions were fully contemplated before she ended up getting pregnant. And then, like, of course, with Elena's history, where she slept with a man, he was literally killed for it. Elena is like, do not tell them anything about this man. And they were like, Adriana, we're not gonna kill him. We just want to talk to him.
Like,
And
why
she
would you
full
even
on
think that?
almost tells them information. She like believes them. And Elena is like, girl, shut the fuck up. They're going to murder him. Like,
I know. I was like, your uncles are freaking skeezy for that. They're like, baby girl, why would we do that? You know us. We would never kill this man. It's like, ew.
yeah, I've never killed anyone a day in my life.
Like, who do you think we are?
Gaslighting the hell out of her.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
kind of brings us to her parents
her
and
parents.
family
Ooh,
unit. Um,
they suck.
yeah, they're very just absentee parents. Honestly, after the first like half of the book, you don't really hear much about them again, except for her mom. They don't like Nico,
No,
which
but they're kind of forced to do business with him.
why were they forced to do business with him? I can't remember.
Well, they want like, wasn't it to form like an alliance because his,
Yeah,
I mean, the Russos are also extremely powerful.
they're like the most powerful family.
Yeah, and so I think that they honestly they just kind of felt like they had no choice. If you form a like an alliance through marriage, then aren't you kind of like off limits as far as being
Yes.
targeted? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that was like the whole point. of
I
marrying
just like I
into
thought
the
it was
family.
so weird whenever because like I said, obviously they don't like him, but whenever Adriana gets pregnant and Nico's like, that's great actually, because I wanted the other one anyway. And he was like, oh no, I'm gonna give him to the Colombian.
Yeah, that part I don't get,
I
but
was
I
like,
think
I don't understand.
part of that I think is because Elena's dad knows, like he knows that Elena is the coveted daughter. And so he's like, she's a more valuable pawn. And so I think he thought that he had kind of gotten away with giving Adriana to Nico.
He was like, hi,
Like,
you get the bad sibling.
yeah, sweet. Like you agree to take that one. And that leaves me to have all of this like trading power still.
I just thought it was because like Oscar had basically like called, I mean he called dibs on Elena, and like that was
Yeah.
always like her father's like original plan was to just give her to Oscar. Is that his
Yeah,
name?
that could be, yeah, Oscar
Okay.
Perez. That could have been that he was already kind of making that deal with Oscar in advance.
Who is also just freaking gross.
Yeah.
But I really feel like in terms of like most mafia fathers that I've read about, her father wasn't the worst one.
Yeah, he could have been worse. He could have just like outright like beat his wife and children.
Yeah.
And
Like he didn't lay hands on them, as far
he
as we
didn't
know.
literally sell them to the highest bidder, but that's just business, baby.
He did like just forsake his children as soon as they messed up. But
But
I
that's
mean,
also just business, baby.
yeah, it's just like I've read about way worse ones. So
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of got off pretty easy there. Their mom was wild. I don't know. She just seemed like a freaking wino. Like,
Yeah. I think she's constantly like on Xanax and wine and
so
like,
maybe that her dad's not a nice person. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure he's not great, but I
Her
think
kids
of,
also suck.
yeah, and of all the like scenarios, again, like when you think of like other books that we've read and how the father of the family like treats the rest of his loved ones, like it could be worse. And I think that their mom kind of knows that like she has it decent.
Yeah.
And so that's why she's like, yeah, like I'll play my part. Like I'll do this and not fuck up. Like I'm just gonna be the perfect little mafia wife.
She's like, I'll watch my soap operas in the living room. You don't even worry about me.
Yeah, you don't gotta worry about
Don't gotta
me.
worry about worry about me.
Words are so hard
I
today.
am struggling. I've had
I
a
took like
cold
a
for like
3 hour
3 weeks.
nap. My nose is so stuffy today. I'm sick of it. The weather's changing here though.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I did just really I woke up from my 3 hour nap like only 40 minutes ago.
Oh,
So I'm a little bit
I'm
like
not quite here yet.
I'm not here nor there. You know what I mean?
We're really doing our best. So, then we also have Nona, which honestly, like, Nona was funny, but I could also see why their mom is the way that she is, because if my mother-in-law treated me like that, I would also be slightly unhinged.
Yeah, she's like constantly undermining her and like trying to make her look like an idiot.
Yeah, she's like out here trying to make like good meals and like being a good host. And she was like, wow, we're eating outside. It's pretty tacky.
Yeah, she
Like,
sucks.
damn.
She does strike me as one of those moms who's probably in love with their son, and which is, of course, mortifying, disgusting. I feel so bad for the children in those situations when their parents act that way. But have you seen like the TikToks that like there was this one lady who made a TikTok about making a fake profile online and like talking to her son like she was someone her son's age and like she was like, when he thinks
Oh,
he's in love with her, in quotes, but really, like, you made a fake profile. I'm like,
ew.
there are some women who are just unwell. And
Yeah.
that is not appropriate.
I had a
You need to
previous
seek
relationship
help.
that was kind of like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just like, it is terrifying, honestly. Like, it's
Yeah.
just so strange.
Yeah. If you feel that way about your child, you need to go get help because
Yeah, it's like, what's happened in your childhood that makes you feel this way?
mm-hmm. and let's resolve the issue before you mess up your child for life. How about that? Yeah.
Oh, that's just gross. It's gross. And that's why we have men like this, because they were told that they can do no wrong.
Oh my God. Yeah, we do feel bad for any men whose mothers acted like that, but at the same time, like you
Like if
might have
you're
grown up to
fine
be a
with
dick.
it and like you're also maybe a little bit in love with your mom, like you need to
Then
seek some counseling.
yeah, you also need to go get help. It's
Yeah.
you're gonna need some help out of that hole, my
You're
boy.
gonna have to dig yourself out of that one.
And then we have Gianna,
Gianna
who,
is my girl.
yes, and she is introduced in this book pretty briefly. Like she's kind of the comedic relief, like
I
when
mean,
it's
from the
needed.
first moment we met her, I loved her.
Yeah. And at first, Elena is like, who is that? Because I think she was worried that like it was going to potentially be like a lover of Nico's because she's only a year younger than Nico, but she's literally Nico's stepmom.
No, she's like, psych, bitch, I'm the stepmommy.
Yeah, it's hilarious. We love Gianna, and she is the focus of the next book. And so we will get to
Ugh,
really unpack her character.
obsessed with her. Like out
She's
of
my favorite.
any of like the main female characters that I have read for the most part, like she's one of my favorites. She's just so funny.
Yeah. She's hilarious. She's real. Like she's, because so many,
She knows her own flaws too.
yes,
She's very self-aware.
she is a very self-aware queen. And I think what happens a lot, especially in romance novels, is that the main character will usually sometimes accidentally come off in a way that Elena does, where it's a little bit pick me energy.
It's gross.
And Gianna is not that at all. She is amazing. She's like, no, you shouldn't pick me, actually.
Like, no, I'm terrible.
I'm actually trash.
She's like, I'm going through a lot right now, but I'm seeking help for it, so don't worry.
She's so real for that. So, yeah, stay tuned. She gets even better in the next book.
Yeah, she's great. So Sebastian and Oscar got killed fairly early in the book, which
Thank
is
God.
fine because he can suck my dick. He was
Yeah,
the worst, like just gross. He is like your typical skeezy mob member, and he's part of the Colombian cartel, I believe,
that
or
sounds
like a
right.
Colombian group. And was like really trying to get his foot in the door with the Italian mafia, which that tracks because, like, for the most part, like, I don't think like they intermingle a ton. Like there are definitely different types of mobs and they do try to like strike up partnerships with other people. And so I feel like Oscar is like fairly new money and that got in terms of like the drug cartels and was trying to partner with the Italian mafia. But we didn't have to worry about him because he drive by died.
Yeah, and we love that for him. He honestly he had a pretty like quick and kind ending there.
Yeah, that was very fair of Nico.
And I wanted to say I looked it up. You're right. It is a cartel. So the
Yeah.
Colombian mafia is called the Medellin cartel.
Medellin.
Medellin.
That is the one that Pablo Escobar ran.
Yes.
Watch Narcos. It's really good.
Oh, I haven't
Um,
seen it.
I just wasn't sure. Really? It's
Yeah.
very good.
Okay, I'll add that to my list.
I just wasn't sure if he was like part of a cartel or if he was like an independent person like trying to get his foot in the
Yeah,
door.
I would assume that he's part of this larger organization.
His brother Sebastian, though, that man can get it.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, he can get
Hmm.
it. I feel like in my head, he was so fine.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he was so hot.
You know he is. You know
Like
he
he
is.
was fine.
Otherwise, let's be real, why would Nico have been worried about Elena being with him
Yeah, like
if
that
he
man was
wasn't?
god tier.
Hmm.
And he was funny too. Like he definitely was trying to, I think, kind of get his foot in the door as well, like pick up where his brother left off. But I think he
Yeah.
was smarter about it. He wasn't sleazy
Yes. So I think he knows, like 100% he knows that his brother was trash, probably secretly wanted him gone as well.
because he
So
was a
like,
second son.
yeah, so he's like, great, now it's my time to shine. Like my brother fucked up, got too many enemies, and I'm gonna kind of like patch things over, um,
Which
and form these
he
partnerships.
actually makes like a vague reappearance in the other books too. They don't mention him by name in the second one, but they do mention doing like deals with the Colombian, which I assume is Sebastian. And then
Yeah.
they do mention him again in the third one. They talk about a Colombian who wants to get his foot in the door with the Bratva.
Hell yeah.
So,
Sebastian's like really expanding his network.
yes.
He's making his LinkedIn profile. He's networking like a boss.
And it has been mentioned that he might be who the fourth installment is about. So,
And I want that so badly.
and I love that for him. I am very interested to find out more about Sebastian.
Honestly, he's my favorite. He does have a soft spot for Elena. Like they're friends. They form this like friendship pretty
He helped
quickly.
her out.
Yeah, when she's like off on her secret super spy mission, he runs into her. She's like, "Don't follow me." And he's like, "Elena, I'm gonna follow you
He's like, baby, I
because
already bought us tickets.
yeah, he's like if you like get freaking nabbed off the street, like Nico will have my head. So
Here
I'ma
we
just
go.
stay here."
Yeah, he
And
was
he
like
was there
so
for her.
down though. Like he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I actually took today off, so
Yeah, he's like, I got time. You want
where
to
are
go
we
to the park?
going?
Sure, let's do it.
We're going to the
Do love
ghetto? Okay.
Sebastian. Yeah, he's like, okay. Let's do that then. Sounds
Let's
good.
do this. So I didn't really write a ton about Benito and Tony, but I think they're worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Benito is honestly the only wholesome character in this entire book. He can do no wrong in my eyes. He's a little playboy, but he's experimenting. Who's to
Yeah.
say? I think he's like just kind of a big old himbo.
Yeah, and he's totally like there for his family.
Yeah.
Anytime Elena like needs him,
It's
he's
like, can you come
there.
pick me up? He's like, I mean, I really shouldn't, but I sure.
Yeah, he's like, your dad's gonna yell at me, but like I guess he's just a real one, honestly. Like
Yeah.
he's a no questions asked type of guy.
He's a ride or die. Benito, Benny, you know what? You are just a babe.
Benny deserves his own book too.
I know. Yeah, you're right. Because he does nothing but the most.
Plot twist, Benito and Sebastian become lovers.
Oh, you know what? I would love to see that actually. Because
Yeah,
you know what? You don't see ever in mafia novels?
gay,
Homosexual couples.
yeah, gay mafia members.
Because I think that's very like frowned upon.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, considering how outdated their views are on
It's
literally
very
everything else.
antiquated.
Yeah, I have to assume that they are not accepting. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Hey, if you're in the mafia and you want to like correct us on that, go ahead and email us at the
I
Sisters
have
Warden.
so many questions.
Yeah, if you're in the mafia and you want to like email us from an internet cafe, please do. The Sisters Warden at gmail.com. We just want
Thank
to talk.
you. And then the last character that just I would like to mention is Tony, the older brother. So again, he's like just kind of there. I
Yeah.
think he is like the black sheep of the family, more so than Adriana. Like he is supposed to take over in his father's footsteps, and his father's like, I'd rather have Benito at this point, I think. But
Yeah. He's like, Jesus, because Tony's just kind of a
he's a
moron.
fuck up. Like,
He's always kind of like running his mouth too. Like, I think that his like growing up with his dad being in such a powerful position, he has a little like sense of entitlement that just kind of
mm-hmm.
causes him to like stick his foot in his mouth and like nobody loves Tony. Tony is just
Nobody, like his own girlfriend doesn't even like him.
yeah, she's like, eh.
Like you a
uh.
paycheck. I bet he'll get a book. Maybe she'll redeem him. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
not.
I don't really want a
I
Tony
don't
book.
think he really deserves it.
Give me Benito before you give me Tony.
Please and thank you. So, some things that we liked about this book, there were a lot of very lovable scenes. Most of them do take place in the first half of the book. My probably all-time favorite one is whenever Nico or Elena's dad has Nico go pick up Elena from dance.
Mm-hmm.
And like she is like pushing her boundaries. Like Nico is like daring her to do stuff, and like he is thinking that she's just like bluffing about a lot of stuff. And he's like, basically, like, I bet you won't kiss me. And she's like, okay. And then like barely just the briefest of pecks
Hmm.
on his lips. And like it is earth shattering.
He just puts the car in drive and in silence. He's
His
like, she
internal
did it.
monologue is so freaking funny because Elena was like, oh, okay, I just did that. Like, that's fine. Like, we'll just keep going. And Nico's like freaking out, like to the point where he's like, I have to go get some gas because I have a boner.
And then freaking has the opportunity to just straight up beat the shit out of a gas station
And he
clerk.
sets it on fire.
Yeah. So the gas station clerk like did deserve to be like have his bones rattled because he fucking like slapped Elena's ass and like
It was being really gross.
it was disgusting. But setting the gas station on fire, might have been a little overkill, but
And
I
then
get
being like, I own the insurance company that you go through. Like, you don't have insurance anymore. I was like, damn.
it. I love that so much. He
Like,
was like,
that's
you think
extreme.
twice before you sexually harass and or
Not
assault a
my
woman.
sister-in-law.
Yeah, totally platonic, by the way.
This has
And
nothing to do with my feelings.
I have a couple favorites so they're like at this restaurant with the family, and Elena comes out of the bathroom, like Nico's in the hallway, and she's like
Ah,
walking away. He like grabs her by the ponytail and like pulls her back. I was like,
every time he does that, like when she's sitting on the couch watching the news and like he's just like slowly like wrapping her hair around his fist. I was like,
yeah.
sir, we don't even know you.
We love it. We love it. And then also in the kitchen, Nico confronts Elena because Christian, like her dad brought Christian over, and Elena was like turning the flirt on because she was like, this dude is fine. And so Nico confronts her and he's like, do you want to fuck Christian? And she's like, what if I do? And he's like, oof, it's
He's like,
rather
it's
intense.
getting a little hot in here.
Yeah. I love it so much.
Ah,
So he's so
so good.
possessive and they're not even together.
It's just like the tension. Like
Yeah,
I love a good like sexual tension between
same.
characters. It's like
And
that's almost
theirs is
better than them
like,
sleeping together.
yeah, it's like, God, why'd you have to go and ruin it by sleeping together?
Like I'm just
Leave it.
eating it up.
Yeah, leave it where it is.
My entire like favorite chapter is the party at Nico's penthouse. Like from start to finish, it is just such a hot mess.
Yeah.
So they get there, Gianna opens the door. She is freaking high as a kite, like doesn't know where she is, like high as a kite. And so they all get in. Like Elena and Nico are doing their little thing. Christian knocks on the door and Gianna opens it and immediately just slams it in his face.
She's
And
like,
so he
not today,
opens it
Satan.
again. And then she goes to slam it a second time. And like they have a weird moment. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And so then like there's like this steamy hallway action. Like Nico corners her like in a hallway outside the bathroom. And like anybody can see them. You're like, oh my God, like
She's
what's
like,
gonna
oh my
happen?
God, he's gonna blackmail me. Like,
And I was
that's
like,
her
do
moment.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so then Elena, she's like, I'm gonna get back at him for that. She takes Christian out on the back patio. They're sitting out by the pool. And she was like, I'm gonna get to know this man more because I'm probably gonna end up marrying him. Nico gets so jealous. And so he walks out and like I don't remember what he asks her, but he pushes her in the pool and Christian just stands there and watches her because he knows what he's doing.
He's like, oh, I didn't do anything.
And so we're just
I
making a huge
freaking,
scene.
yes, that's my favorite chapter. You're so right. It's so good.
It's so funny.
I
And
love
Gianna's just
that.
like, girl, like you fell in the pool, you silly goose.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Elena, so clumsy. She's like, fuck
But
everybody.
Gianna knew. Gianna knew what he did.
Literally, I think so many people knew because there were giant windows that
Yeah.
everyone could see what happened. But they were like, I'm gonna mind my business.
Mind my business.
And then another one of my favorite things is just their dynamic. It's so fucking toxic. I love it.
They hate each
And
other.
this is like, I believe it happens after like she gets home from stealing the money. And he's like, I don't care about the money. Like, I care about you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're so goddamn hot. It pisses me off. And like, if that doesn't sum up their dynamic in one sentence, I don't know what does, because they're just so angry at their attraction to each other.
I know I did say I hate the second half of the book. However, whenever he like locks her in the penthouse and like makes her really reflect on her actions and then come in,
Yes.
like the hate sex that they had
Yeah.
was top
Magical.
tier. That was top tier.
You're so goddamn hot. It pisses me
I
off.
that was some good shit. I mean, I also really enjoyed like the first time they got together too was also just so fucking toxic. It's partially because he knew like he was not the first person to be with her, and I think that really pissed him off because she was wearing that ring and everything. And he
Hmm.
was like, take it off, and she was like, maybe.
Yeah, she's like, make me.
But it's very toxic. Oh, okay. So Elena like sets in place this rule when they first moves in because like immediately upon arriving to her new home, Nico is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna show you why it's so good to live here," and like goes down on her like just no questions asked, like middle of the kitchen. And she's like, "Okay, afterwards, like we need to set some ground rules." And he was like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "Yeah, like no kissing." Like you can do whatever you want to me, but like you cannot kiss me on the mouth. And so all this time, like they are having some problems because it's a terrible dynamic they have between the two of them. And so
Extremely
eventually they like
toxic.
resolve it and they're like banging on a couch after coming in from a garage. I don't remember what the scene was, but he like hurts her, I think, on accident. Oh, like he was being really rough with her and like she was still really sore because she's only had sex once in her whole life. And he was being really rough and she was like, "You hurt me." And so he like kisses her and I was like, she
I
said you
know.
couldn't do that. And like when he realizes it, Elena's like, "No, it's fine." And he was like, "Oh, it's fine now."
She knew. Like she knew she had feelings for him beyond like whatever physical attraction that they had, but like she was in complete denial about it and kind
Yeah.
of just wanted to like
That was
have
like the
control of the
last barricade.
situation. Yeah, which I totally get because again, I cannot imagine being like literally sold off to a man. Like I would also want to have the
Some
at least
ground
the
rules.
illusion of control. So I totally get
I
where
mean,
that's
the
coming
fact that he
from.
like agreed to them too, though, like showed that he
Yeah,
somewhat cared for her.
yeah, and he does, and it's evident. And like, even though his actions have been incorrect for the entire book, it's clear that they came from a place of like him having
Affection.
feelings for her.
But yeah, just the whole thing where he's like, "You gonna let me have every part of you now?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl, like, are
Yeah.
we?"
I was like, Jesus, I'm sweating.
And then like shows up like 2 days later in like a tux, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, we're
Yeah,
getting
he's like, Are
married."
you busy? Because I was thinking, like, it's nice out today. We could just get married.
It cracked me up, and she was like, "No," and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we're getting married right now."
we are getting married because I want to, like, literally own you. And she's like, Fine.
She's like, "All right." What other choice do I have? Sure thing. I really felt like Elena's whole story about like running away in the middle of the night and like showing up at like a random carnival and then like taking home a security guy, which is very unsafe.
Yeah.
And then like just fucking banging him and then dipping out the next day. Like that is so wild to me. And the fact that they made that the whole plot of this story and like that is her big secret was so stupid.
Yeah, it's like that was completely reckless. It would have made more sense if it was someone like that she had developed feelings for over time. It's so like out of character for her to just
I
like,
think she felt bad because she knew in that moment that, first of all, she's extremely privileged
yeah.
because he basically was living in an apartment, like a 2 bedroom apartment with his mom and like siblings,
Hmm.
and was like their sole provider. And she's like, "Oh shit, okay." And then, like, the second like she also realized, like, "Oh, I was not meant for the streets. Like, I do belong exactly where I was at before this."
She like kind of knew she messed up, but she was like, might as well
Got to see it
get
through,
some
my boy.
head, get that bread, get that head, then leave.
Didn't leave. And she did, and then he died.
She definitely was being very selfish in that moment because she knew how unsafe of a position she was putting that man into, like literally against his will. Like if she had been like, "Hey man, um
My dad is like,
a mafia don and like they might murder you if you sleep with me," he probably would have been like, "I'm gonna pass."
I did run away and they are actively looking for me.
Yeah, and like when they find you, they will kill you. I
Yeah,
have
like
a
how
feeling he would have been like, "Get the
selfish.
fuck out of my apartment."
So selfish. She just put that man in like, I don't know. And like I really do think at the time like she knew her family like what they did, but I don't think she understood like how severe it could be. But also it's like how could you not know?
Maybe she just assumed that they wouldn't find out. I
But
just
also
don't know.
Adriana didn't think they would kill her
Yeah.
lover either. So like maybe they really just were naive.
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, I was naive when I was young, so
Yeah.
I guess I get it.
It's just I don't know. The whole thing just seemed like a very weak plot line. And
Um,
like she literally traded one overbearing man for another.
which I mean, again,
That's
is
the
just
life
kind
of the
of the,
mafia.
yeah, like that's just their lifestyle. Like you get passed from your father to a husband.
I mean, there
Hate that.
wasn't a ton I didn't like. I liked this book a lot.
I did too. Just I mean, I think our biggest like issue is just the
It's
miscommunication trope is not it.
and
I
it's
don't
just
like
boring
it.
the last half.
Yeah, and it leads to such a boring like problem and resolution because if your problem itself could have been resolved by just like sitting down and being like, "Hey," and having a 10-minute conversation, then I don't think it's worth my time to like read about this freaking story
Well,
anymore.
and like that's the thing, like with this resolution, like there wasn't a resolution. Like she gave the family the money, but then
Yeah.
like instead of Nico being like, "Hey, girly, like we can't do that," and like next time just tell me, he was like, "Babe, that was so hot.
Yeah.
Like do it again."
Yeah, lie to me again, steal from me again. I kind of liked chasing you. And like speaking of the miscommunication trope, some other tropes, but these are more lovable tropes in my
Yeah, these
opinion.
are good tropes.
The arranged marriage or marriage of convenience, I eat that shit up.
10 out of 10.
Love it. Forced proximity,
Love
hell
that
yeah,
shit.
absolutely. Enemies to lovers,
Ah, you
fuck
can't go
yes,
wrong.
absolutely. Age gap. Mm.
Mm, if it's done tastefully and they're both over, my general rule of thumb is that as long as the younger person is at least the age of like 24 to 25,
Hmm.
I
I
don't
agree.
mind it as much.
But
But like
usually that's
whenever
not the case.
no, but whenever you have like a 19, 20-year-old like getting it with like a 35-year-old man, I'm
I
like,
don't like that.
that just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm not gonna lie. I also like I get whenever people are like it's so hypocritical though because like in fantasy novels the dude's like fucking
No, I don't
500.
like it then either.
Yeah, it's like but at least I can suspend my disbelief because like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
But
it's
a
like they're
30-year-old
500.
man
Like
makes sense to
anyone
me.
they're with is going to be younger than them because they're 500 years old. Like
Yeah. So like
time
I
doesn't
get
mean
that in a way.
anything.
But yeah,
They
age
look
gap is
20.
not my fave. Yeah, they look 20. They
That
were
makes it
they were
better.
preserved at 20.
It's not better, but it is.
Touch her and you die. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like we love only in books though. We
Only in
love an
books.
overbearing alpha male.
Yes, I do not want to see that behavior in real life though, fellas. Like,
That's
no,
gross. That's
that is
gross.
gross. In a book though, hot.
It's really good.
Um, there are a few like symbols throughout the book as well. So Nico, his nickname is Ace, and like his like thing is the Ace of Spades. Which of course, like the Ace of Spades is the trump card of all the cards. Like it kind of symbolizes Nico being like the top dog. He's just in charge. And Elena's ring that she got from her lover that ended up being killed. So that of course symbolizes her guilt, and like she wears it around as a reminder of like her mistake. Whenever she does finally gift it to her lover's mom at the end, along with that money, it's symbolic of her being able to move on. But Nico assumes that it's a symbol of romantic love. And he like cannot stand the thought of that. It makes him extremely jealous. And when they are sleeping together at one point, he's like, take it off, because like he cannot handle it. Another fun one in this book is the color pink.
Mm-hmm.
So Elena, at the beginning of the story, like she's the mafia princess. She's like the perfect mafia daughter, except I mean, she did have that one fuck up, but they're like, we'll correct that for you, and then murdered the man that she slept with. Um, so she's always dressed in pink and like looking perfect. That pink is representing her like femininity and like traditional gender roles that are kind of like imposed upon her in this lifestyle that she's in. But at the end of the book, whenever they do actually have their little wedding ceremony, Elena chooses pink ties for Nico and the groomsmen. So she tells him, like, when she gets up to Nico, she's like, you look great in pink. And he's like, where's your pink? And she's like, wouldn't you like to know? Like, it's a really flirty little thing. But to me, like, that represents the fact that she's like taking control of her own life in this situation now. And she's making decisions now. And Nico, like, kind of sees her as someone who is more of his equal. And of course, he still does, don't get me wrong.
No,
He's
he's still
still
controlling.
he's still controlling and overbearing. I'm not saying that he's not, but it's a different situation than she was in with her father. Like he does respect her opinions, he does respect her feelings. And so it's the pink to her is it's different now. Like she dressed him in pink, like, and then also just like the flirty little implication that like her lingerie most likely is pink. It's just like
It's
she's in a better
nice.
place now. Like
The
it's cute. I like
the
it.
ending of the book is honestly really cute. It really is. And
Yeah.
like I did think it was weird that he's like, I got you a carousel.
Yeah. But like, I don't
But it was
know. That's just
cute.
rich people behavior.
Yeah, the ending was nice.
I'll excuse it.
So some topic questions that we have for this week. The first one is hypothetically, of course, do you think you could handle being forced into a marriage with someone high up in the mafia?
So, the way that I am right now, no, I don't think so. But I also think it would be different if I was literally like born and raised in that culture.
So I actually I feel like I would like it because there's so much structure. I
Everybody
just
just makes the decisions for you. It's
yeah, I
fine.
like crave that in life. It's like this is what you're supposed to do and like here's what your day-to-day looks like and it's like yeah, that's the shit.
That's a fair
Absolutely.
point.
It's
No,
like
that would drive me up a wall.
no, like
The way
there's
that I
set
am right now.
expectations. I love that.
I do think my personality like potentially could be different if I was born into a mafia family. I don't know.
Now, I do feel like my thoughts and opinions would change if I was like forced to marry someone terrible or like hideous. But
Yes.
like if
That's
it
the
were
thing
Nico,
is
for
like in
sure.
these
But
books, yeah, like they're the guy that they end up marrying is always like this hottie who's like high up on the in the power
most of the time it's like
dynamic.
some 50-year-old man whose wife mysteriously died.
Yeah, like I'm not about that. Most of the time you end up being like Gianna, like married to some old crusty ass motherfucker with a
So
hot
I do
son.
feel like that is like situational.
And I don't know, because I think of like stories like Beauty and the Beast, and like I understand like the romantic like nature of like falling for someone who like I mean enemies to lovers, forced proximity. Like I get that, and like I get the appeal of that, but in real life, I just don't think it would translate the way that it does in the controlled environment of a story. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's fair. That's fair.
Um, but yeah, if we're talking like you know that you would be transported into like a particular story and the person would be like this, like maybe.
Yeah, if they were hot, I would consider it.
If they were hot, even if they're an asshole, it's fine.
Like, I'm
Just
rich.
kidding.
I get to do whatever I want to. As
Yeah, now that part would be nice, like the money. And like the thing is,
long as they don't beat me, you know?
well, good luck with that. But the great news is that like even if they ever were like criminally had charges against them, like the women aren't involved in the crime. Like they're not tied to the crimes typically.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
was
like
actually just thinking about that.
you kind of just you know about the crime, but you don't have to testify against your spouse. So you just kind of get off scot-free. So you get all the benefits of the
But they have
money.
great life insurance policies.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Does
Here,
the mafia offer like health insurance or not?
I'm gonna guess no. But they probably have their own doctors that they like just pay with their
Yeah,
money.
that's fair.
So you probably don't need it. So the next like food for thought. So you know that TikTok sound that's like, right here is where every morsel of feminism evaporated from my body.
Yes.
Okay. So that's how I feel when I read mafia romance. So my question is, how do you think you would feel about someone exactly like Nico if you met them in real life? Like, would you be charmed by him?
Yes. Because again, I've stated I don't make great life decisions. So I'd be
I
like,
just
yeah,
don't
that's
know.
my man.
I don't know
That's
what would
the
happen.
one.
I think that I definitely would be like I would like put up a little bit of a fight, but I think he would like that and I think he would be persistent.
Yeah.
And
And
so
I'm
I
like
don't think
really
I'd be
into
able to get rid of him.
persistence.
I think he would be like,
Persistence is
"Damn, yeah."
key. Um,
Yeah, like he
yeah,
would I don't know. I'm
I feel like
my
you have to have like a
stalker
very like specific personality type and sexual like preference, I guess. But
sexual deviance.
yeah, it's like, do you have like, are you a deviant by nature or like,
I am laughing because I am agreeing with you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I'm discovering some unfortunate things about myself.
yeah, it's like that's the thing is that like I'd like to say no, but in reality, yes.
Yeah, let's pretend that our answer is no.
But it
Um,
is yes.
yeah, but just for the record, it's yes. I think I would be into it. Um, okay, the next question that I have for you. Is the mafia technically a
Mm.
cult? And let me read for
Oh.
you one of the Merriam-Webster definitions of a cult. So the definition is great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work, such as a film or book. So what do you think?
By definition, I would say yes.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Because I mean, once you're in for life. Like you don't get to leave.
Mm-hmm. And it's like
Uh
punishable by death. Like if you like try to escape this like group of people, like they will hunt you down.
right. And I think with like a cult too, it's like above the law. Like they don't have normal laws and regulations. Like they go by their own like rules and books. Like
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, technically, I guess.
Yeah, and I've like never considered it
Like
being
anything
a
could be a
cult.
cult.
But like yeah, like but you think of like gangs, like street gangs, I think that's a cult as well,
Yeah,
you
I think it's
know?
just like a nicer, like calling it the mafia is just a nice way of calling it an
Yeah,
organized, like super well organized cult.
right. Because also I think typically like cults are associated with like religious themes, which makes sense because like so many of them are.
But
So I
it's
think that's
not like
really like the only thing that kind of like sets it apart is like
it's not religion based.
yeah, but it's like based on, I would say, like an idea or a movement.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like initially what it so we'll talk about it in the mini-sode a little bit, but basically like the mafia initially started off as like a group of people who were very wary of like law enforcement and like organized law
Hmm.
because of like how they treated people. And then eventually
Which
like
is fair.
yeah, eventually it formed into like what it is today. And so like initially, no, I don't think it was a cult, but because they like basically put like one person above everyone else and like they look to that one person for like leadership and guidance, then yeah, I would say it's probably a cult.
Yeah, things just kind of really took off at some
Like
point.
everybody like the Dawn is like the law.
Yeah,
Like what they say goes.
right.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a cult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whoever in the mafia is going to sneak off to an internet cafe and email us all your
Do it
secrets,
so carefully.
do it so, so carefully because you're in a cult, babe. And I
Call
don't
your
want
dad.
anything. Call your dad. Um, so I don't want anything bad to happen to you.
I put up my favorite murder ornament on my Christmas tree today.
Yes. I have a matching one. Actually, I got one for myself as well that year.
That's really cute.
Stay saved and do God's mission.
Yes. So the final question is, well, actually, this kind of is answered by the cool question. Do you think it'd be possible to start our own version of the mafia or mob in this day and age, or do you think it's only still running because it is such an established organization?
I think, well, I mean, it depends on the type of person who's like kicking it off because yeah, like you put the right person
We can
in
accomplish
charge
anything.
and a cult forms so fucking easily. Like you just need the right personality type up there. Someone charming and convincing, persuasive,
Yeah, because it's
manipulative.
like think of the Raven Hood, for
Yeah.
example. Like that was started by a literal 12-year-old boy with a
Yep.
dream
Hmm.
and became like this whole worldwide organization that takes down like governments.
Hmm.
It's like obviously that is fiction, but
Same with
I think it's possible.
yeah, like Z
Yeah, if
in
you just try hard enough.
Cat and Mouse Duet
Why are we reading so many books about secret societies? I love it.
because
I
they're
love
that,
secret
man.
societies.
Same. And what bred my love of secret societies was a series of unfortunate events by Lemony
See,
Snicket.
mine was this Mysterious Benedict Society.
Oh, I never read those, but I bet it's good. I am so glad that Neil Patrick Harris like redid the TV show. You know, like because the movie that we got of a series of unfortunate events back when we were kids was just not it. Um,
Yeah.
it had some like good parts to it, but
Who
overall, no.
played Count Olaf in that? Was it
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey?
Jim Carrey, and he did a good job.
It was
But
just very poorly done, like the movie itself.
yeah, like it was just missing too many elements. And like the actors themselves did a good job portraying the characters, but it didn't translate.
Did the TV show actually do all the books?
Yes. It's
Ah,
a
I'll have to
complete
watch
series
it. I
now.
haven't watched it.
Yes, binge it. You're going to love it. It has the exact vibes that the movie was missing. Like it has the
Ah.
like it makes you feel like you're in on a secret the whole time. It does take a couple creative liberties, but I'm okay with it. Like it just added to the show, I
The
think.
one thing I did love a ton about the movie was that Jude Law was Lemony Snicket.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, that really makes sense in my head.
But in the TV show version, it's why can I not think of this man's name? Give me 1 second. Patrick Warburton.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's Kronk.
Yeah, it's Kronk. That's what I typed into Google. I said Kronk voice.
I
But he does an amazing job as
love that.
Snicket. And yeah, it's 10 out of 10.
I'll have to
Honestly,
watch
I
it.
might rewatch that while I'm couch ridden with my broken ankle.
Yeah, I'm going to start that this week. That wraps up the first installment of the Maid series. Join us next week for a mini-sode where I'm going to be schooling Caitlin on the Italian mafia.
I can't wait. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to take notes. That way I can make my own cult.
Yeah. If you want to get started on the next book, we'll be reading the second book in the Maid series. It is called The Maddest Obsession. We have to really pay attention to what these books are called because we have mixed and matched the names so many times.
Yeah, but you got that one right. And it does feature Christian and Gianna. So you're in for a wild ride. They're amazing.
It's so good.
It's really good. It's even better than the first one. So go ahead and get started on that book. And as always,
Let's get lit.